It's Too Many Men on the Mic, presented by Netfront LLC. Now here's Coach Drew and Coach Jared.
We've been waiting for it, and now we have a Final Four. I'm not a big basketball fan, but Final Four in hockey is when things get real. It's getting serious. We're talking about who's going to be representing potentially each conference for the chance to play for the Stanley Cup. So last night, I don't know what you were doing. I have a feeling I know what you were doing. I was sitting on my couch, screaming at the TV, cheering Buffalo on because they were making a game out of it yet again, dug themselves out of a hole, put themselves in contention to win it, and then another overtime. And Montreal is moving on. Well, what do you think about that?
As I'm watching that, Montreal scores 2 goals, and I think the first 8 minutes again, early goals in that
first half of the first period.
That whole series was all about early goals. But I knew it was going to go to overtime. I had this feeling in my gut because the crowd at Buffalo, the way Buffalo plays, their style of play lends itself to, they kind of started slow all series, and then boom, we saw it in Game 6, they were down 3-1. Next thing you know, they're up 6-3. And so, the way their defense pushes the play, I think both their goals were scored by defensemen who are locked up for 5 years plus. Yeah, thanks Detroit. What a finish. I kind of felt Montreal was going to win that series because I think their goaltending was better. But at the end of the day,
it's tough to spot a team 3 goals. Like the game prior, they spotted them 3 goals. Then it was 3-1, and then boy, the horses came loose, and it turned into an 8-3 game. And then for them last night to spot them 2 goals, that's really hard to win when you're giving the team a 2 and 3 goal advantage across 2 games. So I just felt like also Buffalo did not have a good record at home, which is interesting.
Crazy, 2-5.
The whole home field advantage. If you're a football fan out there, that means everything. In hockey, throw it out the window in this series. It means absolutely nothing.
Well, Montreal's below 500 at home too.
They are. So,
Road Warriors. Well, it's funny because as I was sitting on the couch last night, I was watching the game at different points with different, I'm with my son and a couple of his hockey buddies. Shout out to Brendan Ballant, living his best life now for the next week after he's graduated before he has to start work for the summer. And then I was watching it with my father-in-law, and it was I made the comment, it's going to be, in order for Buffalo to win, they're going to have to score 3 in a row.
How's that go? How's watching a game with your father-in-law?
That was a blast. He's a big Colorado Avalanche. He lived in Colorado for a while, so even though he's from Detroit, he roots for Colorado, which I can't wrap my head around. Right. And then he's now living in North Carolina, but he's still a big Colorado fan. I mean, he's very well versed in all things Colorado. He can tell you what Makar had for breakfast. But he's a big fan of the Lanch, and he gets kind of quiet when I talk about, well, I don't know, man. Vegas is playing their best hockey right now.
Is he a student of the game, or do you have to explain things that are going on in the game to him? The 2 of you watching.
He's a great fan. He asks really good questions.
When he asks questions,
he'll ask the question why a certain play is a certain way, or why is that a penalty. But he's a great student of the game.
Let's get Grant in here. Grant, do you ask questions when you're watching on NHL hockey games?
See, I always set that up.
Inquiring minds want to know.
That's a pro right there.
I honestly don't think I've ever really watched hockey with somebody that I should ask questions to.
Ah,
Like,
Well,
I don't think I've ever watched a hockey game with somebody who knows more than me about hockey.
Well, that's a great segue because I think there's an opportunity for us to let's break down the game-winning goal from last.
absolutely.
And we're going to show where this play originates.
And we'll see if Grant has questions.
Yeah, we'll see if Grant has questions. So let's go ahead and share the screen. Let me find.
There are a lot of good things, and obviously a lot of things that broke down on this play as you're pulling it up. I don't want to give away my comments yet, but an overtime goal. One thing I did notice is right before this goal happened, and Grant, I don't know if you noticed this, the players were getting tired. They kept talking about the amount of time that the players have been on the ice once it got to OT, about halfway through OT. They were talking about where they going to, I think both teams had 5 defensemen, which I thought was interesting. They only played 5.
Yeah.
And so, were they going to make more players available? But cue it up. Here's the game winner.
So, full disclosure, I thought that this was probably one of the sloppiest games I've seen in terms of taking care of the puck in your own zone. Mm-hmm. And it's so ironic how this game finished because Montreal, by all rights, this is coming off a couple plays where they were just they couldn't find their feet in their own zone. That's why there's an offensive zone faceoff here. So let's, we're right off the faceoff, win back to the guy you want to win it back to, Rasmus Dahlin. So let's freeze it there for a second. So Dahlin's got that puck. I like where Montreal's forwards are. We always talk about, and this is a great coaching opportunity for you kids at home. These 2 forwards are above the circles challenging these defensemen. So, we're not going to have our backs turned. We're not in bad position. We move on a little bit here. Dahlin tries to do, and this is a Norris Trophy candidate, tries to do a little bit too much and gives up that puck. And now we're going. And
freeze it
right here.
So I can't take my eyes off this. Look at number 9 on Buffalo. And Josh Norris, who, do they do film review after you lose an OT? Do you come back the next day and do film review? Or maybe they do film review the first day of the season. What were you going to say, Grant? You had something to say there.
I said no. I don't think they do.
No film review.
Way they do film review the day after.
So what I noticed immediately about number 9 on the screen, Josh Norris, is look at where his stick is. His stick is not on the ice. He's looking. He's watching. Frequently, you'll hear coaches say puck watching, but just follow this play and watch him. He looks like he's out for. You say it. He's water skiing.
He's a little bit water skiing.
He's water skiing.
In his defense, I mean, if you look here, you've got Tage Thompson is kind of walled off here. What I really love about this play, I'm going to look at it from the Montreal side, and he had a phenomenal series. I think that's Anderson, number 71. And he recognized Evans. That's Evans. They're all. It's Evans, Newhook. This is Newhook, by the way, one of the only Stanley Cup winners, and for future trivia, one of only 2 NHL players to score a game-winning overtime, series-clinching Game 7 goal in back-to-back series. So
Give that man a compliment.
I love what Evans is doing. He's obviously Dahlin has to be head up on Newhook. He never stops, and look what he does. He pulls. I think this is Heisman, but he pulls him and he takes away UPL's eyes right there. And UPL, if you saw the game, he threw his helmet. Great competitor. Understand his frustration. Probably as an NHL level goalie, one he needs to have. But, I think Buffalo has to do a better job of not letting 2 guys beat 4. Right there, 2 guys beat. The way I look at this is you have 2 guys beating 3 for sure and probably beating 4. 2 guys are beating 4.
Right. And that's, I guess where maybe Norris thought, well, we've got the numbers, so I can just water ski. And I don't need to skate over and challenge Newhook. Newhook also shot that puck for all the fans out there between the defenseman's legs.
Yeah.
Between the defenseman's legs.
Rasmus Dahlin's legs.
Yes.
Like not just any defenseman.
The skill. It's crazy. Grant, did you watch that or were you sleeping? What was going on in your household?
I was watching. Yeah, I had that on the laptop and the NBA game on the TV.
Oh, the NBA game. And who are you rooting for on the NBA side?
The Spurs, I think.
Spurs.
Yeah. You think?
You can't remember what you bet?
Way to commit.
No, I'm kind of indifferent. I just want good games. And last night was two of the best just pure sporting events in one night that I've seen. That game goes to overtime, Canadiens win, and the Thunder Spurs go to double overtime.
Yeah, it's a good night. Good night for sports for sure.
Late. I was tired this morning getting up, but
the Western Conference, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Well, the going back to that game-winning goal, where it all started for me as a coach, watching off the face-off, your wingers go directly up to the points. You're not giving Rasmus Dahlin and
challenge them, and turn the puck over.
Not giving them any time to breathe. And Dahlin, again, world's easily top 5, top 3 defenseman in the world, makes a play that drives us nuts with our own kids of you're trying to do too much. You're trying to be too cute. And all he had to do, the best play is get that puck deep. The second best play would be to go deep because there was room there. The third best play, which was not a good play at all, was to try and turn out at the blue line, holding the puck and turning it over. And, to his credit, he got back. And, Newhook, I mean, just like in the first series, put the puck on the net, which is another thing we talked, coaches out there, don't wait to overtime or the third period to start taking shots. The more shots you take during the game, the less likely you're going to be able to go to overtime.
Well, and from, I don't want to say an outsider, but from my point of view, it seemed like the only way the Canadiens were going to score in this overtime was by a mistake from the Sabres. Like, I didn't think that it didn't seem like the Canadiens could set up a possession, work the puck around and
they're struggling.
Yeah, and get a chance in the other third. I think it had to be a mistake, a turnover that turns into getting out quickly.
That's exactly what happened against Tampa.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And, nobody goes back and asks, how you won. They just they count the W. You talked earlier about the wait is over. Talk about the wait. If you're Carolina, the longest wait ever between series, 12 games. I mean, it was almost April the last time they played.
You better get ready, Montreal, because
you're not going to be able to fumble the puck like they were last night. I mean, second period, they looked like a peewee team working on a breakout in practice. That's how bad it looked in the second period. And, I know, look, Deneau's goal off the skate, not a kicking motion. I know Buffalo's crying that they can't challenge it. I mean, the league looks at it. So it was definitely not a kicking motion. The goal that was called back should have been called back. That's the rules that, you want to change the rules, have your GMs at the GM meeting figure it out and, then stop crying. But yeah, Bleu, Blanc, and Rouge is against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Wow.
Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. That's what the Canadiens go by. That's French for blue, white, and red. Bleu, Blanc, Rouge.
What do you think?
Les habitants.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's the reaction was his French wasn't very good.
Oh, my friend from a guy from St. Louis telling me how do you say Carondelet? Carondelet. How do you say creve coeur? We call it creve coeur.
Gravois.
It's America. Last time I checked.
Oh, so you're anti Montreal.
You're more north than Canada.
That's right. I am more north than Canada. You're right.
Montreal's actually the team I'm rooting for.
Really? Tell us why.
I wanted them to beat the Sabres. I don't
When's
know.
the last time they won the Stanley Cup?
They're the last Canadian team I know. I'm going to say, is it 19? I know it's 1994.
No, close. 1993.
Really close.
Who was their captain?
I don't know.
Vincent Damphousse.
Damphousse?
I don't know who that is.
Their leading scorer was actually, I think their leading scorer was American. It was John Leclerc. Before he joined the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, before he
I like the DeSmet goalie.
Philly.
Oh, yeah. So our assistant coach and Lexi Levy's brother, Zach Levy, played with him when he was in St. Louis.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, Dobish is the we can talk about goaltending for a second here because coming off of the vast knowledge that we got from last week's show with our goalies, our goalie show, the favorite, the front runner, Colorado, is the only team that really uses two goalies. And you know what they say, if you've got two goalies, you don't have one. If you got two goalies, you don't have one. We'll see. We'll see.
Right,
we'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that series.
Well, at the conclusion of that game-winning OT goal, I always like to watch the highlights and the coverage and hear everybody pine in their opinions. But quickly, I find myself watching a sold-out crowd for a PWHL game. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. And the Ottawa Charge, what a great name, staved off elimination with a 2-1 comeback win over the Montreal. I think that's victory, but it's. Do you want to say the French version of it over here?
How they pronounce it in Montreal?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can say it correctly. I did take high school French 4 years ago. My wife will tell you that I can't speak English very well either.
But sold out games. I mean, what's impressive to me about this?
The Victoire.
The
Montreal Victoire.
Yes. What's impressive to me about the PWHL right now and these games that are going on is they are going on at the exact same time as the NHL playoffs. And so we were talking about it a little earlier.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder. There was somebody
that was show prep, Grant. Thanks
years and years ago that did some kind of study, and they went to female fans of hockey or female hockey players and said, would you be interested in watching a men's hockey game? No. But if you put girls out there, I'd watch it in a heartbeat. And sold out crowds, 18,000+ people come to these games. What a cool thing. And they're doing it. They're not putting their season off schedule from the NHL. They're competing right with them. That's fantastic. What a great story.
What I find so fascinating about this league, and I haven't done enough research to see if any other startup league has done things this way. Every team is owned by the same company. There are no franchises. And so when you're looking at, there's no risk of a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates who are just going to play to the floor, instead of playing to the ceiling. I find that fascinating, and I think there's a lot of folks who are going to get very, very excited and want to get in on this. This is
minute of play in this period.
Yeah, this is I think an opportunity for local businesses in these NHL markets and these other markets where they're looking to expand to clamor to get buy-in to this, and they're currently they're owned by, and bear with me for 1 second as I'm going through my notes here. They're owned by, it's like the Warner Company or the Warner family. Hang on 1 second. Bear with me. I had a thing on here, things you may not know about the PWHL.
Well, while you're looking at that, I will just highlight this for you. And Grant, I think you'll probably get a good kick out of this. A 39-year-old Canadian police officer attempted to enter the draft. Talk about a non-traditional development path.
Well, she's actually the second leading scorer in the history of Canadian women's hockey, but she's It's the Walter family, but it's the Walter, Mark Walter and his wife Kimbra. They've built this single entity there. It's owned by the Walter Group. Now, I just find it fascinating that if you look at it that way, and the players buy into it, you have a situation where you create as competitive and balanced as you possibly can early on, and everybody's singing from the same hymnal, and you don't have people trying hymnal. But the 39-year-old Canadian police officer, I heard about her the other day, and we can talk a little bit about this.
This is great. This is a feel-good story. I mean, the league's so successful, you got 39-year-old police officers wanting to come and join you. Right? Well, I can do it.
I know she's originally from Windsor, Canada. It's Constable Megan Agasta. She is there for the 2026 PWHL draft. She's a 3-time Olympic gold medalist with Canada. She hasn't played hockey.
Let her play.
Hasn't played any type of high-level hockey in 8 years. And I'm rooting for her. I think it's so cool.
I bet she's a ringer in women's league.
Well, she's a constable in the Vancouver Police out in Vancouver, British Columbia. That's in Canada.
That is in Canada.
But she's originally,
that is a province too.
She's originally from Windsor, though, and Detroit's getting a team. That's also where the draft's going to.
He's bringing it back to Detroit. Here we go. Everything rolls back. Yeah.
We got to pay a few. We got to pay a few bills here. So before you bag on me about being from Detroit, I'm so abused. Like Drew never lets me forget that I'm from Detroit, Grant. Like I don't get it.
Or that he went to level 5.
Level 5 is more important than Detroit.
I mean, they teach you that in level 5.
Which Drew wouldn't know.
I would not.
He was there on the TV.
Yeah, I was.
We got to pay a couple bills here. We're going to do a quick ad read, and then we'll be back to talk more about the PWHL. Just what we feel is just an awesome opportunity for hockey fans, not just women hockey fans and girls, but hockey fans, because it's great hockey. And we'll be back to talk a little more playoffs and a little bit more coaching stuff. But thanks for listening to Too Many Men on the Mic. We'll be right back.
Summer's right around the corner. Big Bear Tournaments is already thinking about the next hockey season. Registration is now open on their website for the 2026-2027 season, and spots are filling up fast. Join them in new locations such as Savannah, Georgia, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Holland, Michigan. Looking to save on your entry fees? Take advantage of their multi-team, multi-club, and club-level discounts that guarantee savings across the board for every team in your organization. Head over to BigBearTournaments.com today to claim your spots and be ready to hit the ice after the summer. That's BigBearTournaments.com. And those of you that are watching on a computer or on your phone, go ahead and click that QR code up in the top right-hand corner and learn all the great things that Big Bear Tournaments is doing for the 2026-2027 season.
Real quick, folks, before we jump back in, if you're enjoying Too Many Men on the Mic, hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's a quick click for you, but it helps us grow the show and keeps bringing you great hockey conversations. You can also follow us on Instagram by scanning the QR code on the top right corner of your screen, and be sure to download, follow, and rate the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And coaches, you can go directly to our website to get all of our downloadable PDF drill draws from the likes of USA hockey legends like Pooch and Dan Jablonic, and most importantly, Drew Akery. Those small things from you help us keep delivering new guests, downloadable coaching content, and more from the rink. All right, back to the show. Okay. And we're back talking about NHL playoffs, coaching opportunities from watching those games. We left off last segment with some discussion about the PWHL, which I think more and more, and again, I'm excited about the fact that there's this outlet of hockey for girls to aspire to, especially since we've started coaching girls here in the last couple of years. But some of these storylines are phenomenal. And when you look at the way it's structured with single ownership, they're expanding from 8 teams to 12. Hamilton, Ontario is going to get a team. Detroit, I believe they're going to Vegas, and all signs point to San Jose, I think, getting that 12th team.
Come on, St. Louis, right in the middle of the country. Let's go.
I'm surprised St. Louis isn't on that. And I look at things like marquee. I bet you St. Louis gets a player when Josie Dunn graduates from Ohio State. I bet you, because they're doing a really, really good job, I think, of kind of like creating a demand.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
carefully
growing it. Some would say cultivate. But if you look, they crossed over 1 million viewers this year when you combine, the Canadian broadcasts, which I think are on TSN. U.S. broadcasts are on ION and YouTube. But coming off an Olympic year where you have such high level of compete between Team USA and Team Canada, I would not be shocked to see if this league gets a European franchise, or I guess not franchise, a European team before the NHL does, because teams like Sweden and Finland are also growing this game, exponentially.
Sorry, what's ION?
I watched this. So hang on, let's talk about this. So I watched this interview with Charles Barkley a few years ago, and he was talking about, he's a big NHL fan, and he goes, "Man, I remember when."
Is this your Charles Barkley impersonation?
I remember when the NHL was on. He couldn't even name the channel. He's like, "And I'm rich. I can't find that channel." I don't know what ION is, but there was a time when the NHL was on like the Outdoor Network. OLN, Outdoor Living Network. The NHL was on Outdoor Living Network. Yes. So I think that the fact that you know who's not on ION, Too Many Men on the Mic's not on ION. I would love to be on ION.
Grant, do you know what ION is? Get in here.
Like ION?
ION, like an ion,
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. No.
Okay. Well, they also are on YouTube, which again I think is like and subscribe to them and Mike on YouTube if you're watching.
I think Grant said it earlier. He asked questions. Or no, you were saying that your father-in-law asked questions. So I thought I'd take a minute there and just say what exactly is ION?
Well, 2.9 million Canadian viewers and historic U.S. national broadcasts on ION. The games reach 154 countries.
Wow.
So I would not be surprised. I mean, obviously the NHL has a global reach with the, you obviously have North American players from the United States and Canada, but Sweden, Finland, Germany, Russia. But I would not be surprised if they're able to find a market in Europe that would support a female team. Now, what I would love to see is like you have two divisions. You have a North American division and a European division, and they play for a championship. There's so many things that you could do. And again, I go back to, I do think
St. Louis play the championship in Iceland. How about that?
Ooh, that'd be better than Greenland.
Yeah.
Iceland's actually warmer than Greenland. All right, I stop.
It all goes.
I stop.
Hey, one fun fact that Coach shared with me, and I want to get your opinion on this, Grant. I didn't know this. This is fascinating to me, that the top playoff seed gets to select its first round opponent. How great is that? The team that finishes first, you get to decide who you want to play. So normally, it's 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, and 4-5. In this case, if you are the number one seed, you don't get necessarily home field advantage. Maybe you get that too, but you also get to pick your opponent.
How many teams make the playoffs?
How is that?
So right now there's 8 teams in the league. 4 teams make the playoffs, and the Victoires were the number one seed, and they chose to play Minnesota, who was the number 2 seed, first over playing Ottawa. And I think about that, the gamesmanship that goes into that. Yeah. We look at roster, you look at how and obviously it was a good choice because they lost to Ottawa. Like they lost in the last, I don't think the championship has been played yet, but I'm all for this. I think the only thing that, and again, nobody's listening to me make their business decisions, but I wonder if playing the season, not at the same time as the NHL would be a better idea. You know, the UFL does not compete with the NFL.
The WNBA doesn't compete with the NBA.
WNBA plays in the summer, and maybe that's the next iteration. But again, they're trying to keep their costs in line. So maybe because the costs of having an ice rink open, and they're getting about 10,000 fans a game, which is nothing. I mean, that's about what the WNBA got their first season. And WNBA has been around for over 20 years, and they're, you know, now the WNBA has a better spotlight on their players with how the NCAA women's sport has just exploded. I mean, you know, whether it's Paige Bucher or Caitlin Clark or who just won the MVP, she's amazing. You've seen these players play throughout the last 4 years when they were in college. I think the PWHL, they don't necessarily want to compete with summer vacations, and it might be a little bit more of an expense to open a ice arena in the summer. And those arenas may say, no, it's concert season. That's the other thing that happens because they're playing. And but we'll see. Maybe there's an opportunity to have them not compete directly with NHL eyeballs.
Well, they got 18,000 plus fans to a game this year at Madison Square Garden. So
it's amazing.
They're clearly doing things right. Yeah. Good for them. What a good story for the NHL and for all the fans out there who enjoy hockey, just hockey in general. Growing the game and doing it in a way that hasn't been done before. But I thought that was pretty clever. You get to pick your opponent if you're the
I like that. I've never heard of.
Well, it puts a greater emphasis on the regular season. I mean, obviously, it's always great to be the number one seed or top seed in the playoffs, but to be able to be the number one seed and say, yeah, we're going to play these guys.
All right, so there's 4 teams left, and we're going to have to share our opinions on what we think about this. But for me, the teams that are well rested this time of year are the teams that are going to be dangerous, and that's Colorado. And that's also Carolina. I mean, I think you said it earlier. Carolina's been sitting around for 12 days. They could have gone on vacation, come back, and still gone to the ice rink and gotten a couple workouts in, and they're still sitting around waiting. I saw some tired players from Montreal on the ice last night. I know it was an OT game, but 2 7-game series back to back, and now you're going to run into a well-rested sitting around for 12 days team that I think is going to be ready to like literally jump out of their skates.
Here's a question for Grant. What is the least amount of games you would be able to play in first 2 rounds of playoffs with a 7-game series? What's the least amount of games you would play in the first 2 rounds?
I'd go 8.
Give that man a hand. Or give that man a hand. Give that man a hand. Math is still undefeated.
Math is undefeated.
Math is still undefeated. Now, that same scenario, what's the most amount of games you play in that same scenario?
Now, I think 14.
Well done.
So we have a situation, it doesn't happen very often, where you have 2 teams competing, one who has played the least amount of games and one who has played the most amount of games. And that one who's played the most amount of games has had multiple overtimes. So you could probably have gotten away, Grant. I'd have probably accepted 14 and a half, 14 and 3/4, 15 or 15 and a half. So I would accept all those. Now, I will say this. There is the rust versus rest that is so cliche that everybody talks about. I think that Carolina is going to, for the first 5 minutes, they may look a little, just a little like, hey, not that they're going to be tired or their legs are going to be heavy. It's just like
they got to get back in the game.
They got to get back into that urgency and that pace, whereas Montreal has been playing for their lives the last 2 games, right? At least, and so I think that there's going to be a moment where if Montreal can come out, I'll say this. I think Montreal is going to score the first goal. on Thursday.
Who you got your money on, Grant? That's what we want to know.
I think Montreal. I know there's just something about this team. I don't have I wouldn't say to win. I still think the clear favorites are the Avs to win it all. But I think that Montreal can defeat Carolina and make the Stanley Cup final.
So you think they're on to something? Yeah, I'm hearing a little bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm bandwagoning the Canadiens. You can't kill them. They don't go down easy, and that's
you're wrong. You're wrong.
Wow, that was just a hard. You're wrong. Yes.
So
you want to put a wager on this?
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Let's think about this. Okay. Here's the deal. All right. If Montreal wins, I'll go on Instagram or do something that makes me look terrible compared to Grant Salzman. When Carolina wins, you'll be in a front row seat at our June 18th 2 Minute Man on the Mic gig.
How about this? If Carolina wins, I'll be at the gig. If Montreal wins, you owe me a round of golf.
Ooh, at Tapawingo.
There you go.
Sure.
Done. I win both ways.
I like that. According to DraftKings Sportsbook, whoa, you're getting good odds here. Canadians are 2-1 to advance, where Carolina is heavy favorites.
No, you're reading that wrong. You're absolutely reading that wrong. That can't be right. They're trying to get money on
plus 225 to advance.
Wow.
They're plus 225, which means you have to bet 100. You bet $100, you win. Montreal's plus 225 to advance.
Yeah.
What about on the western side? Who they got?
Hang on a second.
The Knights are less of an underdog than the Canadians. The Knights are plus 210.
Yeah. They're not. It's about the same. Both odds are for Carolina, Colorado Stanley Cup is like. Well, let's talk about Carolina first. I know you're chomping to talk about Vegas and
oh yeah.
Oh, look, I did it again. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Carolina, the reason why I'm so bullish on this team is they forecheck and have the highest rate of offensive zone pressure in time. And when you watch Montreal in both their series, there were stretches of every single game they were in where they were just hanging on. And I don't know in the first round why Nikita Kucherov couldn't score a goal, but he couldn't, and that worked out in Montreal's favor. In this round, I have no idea why Alex Tuch had 0 points. 33-goal scorer, was a force in the first round against Boston. I think he had a couple game winners or was a factor on game-winning goals against Boston, was an 0-4. And it wasn't like he wasn't taking shots. There is no way they're going to go 3 series in a row playing the sloppy defensive zone style they play. Even on that last goal, they had no business scoring that goal. They had to rely on a mistake. So I just don't think they're going to do that against a team right now that is, I think their time on ice amongst their forwards is the most balanced of all the 4 teams left. If you stop Stankoven, you got to worry about a rejuvenated Taylor Hall. If you stop Taylor Hall, oh yeah, we've got this guy, Nikolai Ehlers. Oh, if you stop Nikolai Ehlers, Sebastian Aho. No world-class MacKinnon or Eichel or Marner on that team, but they play a brand of hockey where it looks like there's freaking 6 guys out there, not including the goalie, because they're constant movement and constant pressure. I don't see Montreal being able to do it.
They are fast. They are a very fast team. And on it again, for a team that's coming off 2 7-game series that went their way, you're getting into a horse race. It's
last minute of play in this period.
Well, the best ability is availability, and Carolina is going to have everyone available.
Did you hear that one, Grant? Best ability is availability.
I like that one. That's one of my favorites.
He's full of isms in tonight's broadcast.
I will say this.
Ism.
I will say this. I will say that Montreal, I think they have a advantage in that. And I know Freddie Anderson has had this rejuvenation, but I don't think he has faced the pressure that Dobish has. And I think Dobish now, they're playing with house money, at least from a goaltender standpoint. He's house money. I could see him stealing. I could see it going six games.
So Freddie Anderson's been in that for the last couple of years for Carolina, and it hasn't worked out. So I agree with your point in goal. I think Montreal, quite honestly, has the advantage in goal. But I also think Montreal has not faced a team like Carolina. Let's go to the other side, because I don't know. I'm not buying this whole Carter Hart story. I'm just not. And I'm not a huge Vegas Golden Knights fan. Not as much as I used to be. I think they're a little long in the tooth. I think it's I think they're going to have their hands full for sure with Colorado, but I'm not buying this whole Carter Hart story.
Well, let's jump and dive into that, because I'm going to pick at some of those points.
Oh, let's go.
After the break here, we got to go pay a couple bills here, so don't go anywhere. We've got too many men on the mic with special guest Grant, the producer, hanging out all night as we talk coaching opportunities by watching the playoffs. We'll be right back. Well, that segment of Can We Embarrass Grant and Make Him and Lose a Bet was brought to you by our friends at 5B Designs. St. Louis hockey families and business leaders, if you need custom gear that stands out and stands for something, it's time to meet 5B Designs. Founded by Shannon Brahini, a proud St. Louis mom and entrepreneur, 5B Designs is a woman-owned small business that brings purpose to custom apparel. Whether you're suiting up your youth or high school hockey team or leveling up your company's branded swag, 5B delivers top-notch quality with a personal touch. You need a team store? Not a problem. Corporate polos or event giveaways? They've got you covered. 5B makes it easy with fast turnaround, flexible service, and designs your players or employees will love to wear. Check them out at stores.inksoft.com/5B Designs. That's the word 5. And if you're watching on our YouTube feed, go ahead and scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen and see what great gear and great service looks like.
We're back, and we're talking Final Four NHL playoffs. And right before the break, we left off talking about the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. And I personally had Anaheim coming out of that bracket. Was not expecting Vegas to get there. And part of the reason I didn't think Vegas was going to get there is I'm not personally buying this whole Carter Hart story. But I bet you have some stats and some talking points that you want to share. I feel like they're at your fingertips.
Well, it's kind of serendipitous with Carter Hart coming to Vegas. You knew when he was available, and we don't need to go into the stories behind all of that. I mean, that's well documented. If you don't know, it might be worth a Google. But I knew once he became available, even though they have a Stanley Cup winning goaltender in their system in Aiden Hill, they were going to go after Carter Hart because he is a top-end talent. He's first-round draft choice for the Philadelphia Flyers. And then, lo and behold, Vegas, I mean, say what you will about Vegas, they put on a show out there, whether it's on the ice or pregame, and they just want to win. So whether you're a player or coach, if they think there's somebody better they can get, you going. And they bring in John Tortorella because they didn't like where the room was going. They were going in the wrong direction the last month of the season. He turns them around, and a la, Larry Robinson taking over for Robbie Ftorek back in the day with the New Jersey Devils, has them here in the playoffs, winning it.
Wow.
First off, if you can spell Robbie Ftorek, Grant.
I was just going to say Ftorek.
If you can spell Robbie Ftorek, Grant.
No shot.
Yeah, former NHL legend turned coach turned fired before the end of the season for legend Larry Robinson. But that's a whole other story. They bring in Torts they fire their Stanley Cup winning coach, and they bring in Torts. And Torts loves Carter Hart. I think he's for real. I'm disagreeing with you. I think he's the best goalie left in the playoffs.
Do you really? I think he is.
I think he's the most talented. He's the best goalie in the playoffs. And this is a guy who loves Dobish. I think it's a distinct advantage that they have over Colorado. Now, Colorado is one of those teams where, plug your ears, all my goalie friends, or you can call yourselves my goalie friends.
What's Simon going to think about this?
Yeah, right. Here's the deal. Colorado is a great team despite their goaltending. When you say you have 2 goalies, it means you have 0 goalies. So I think Carter Hart's a distinct advantage. Where I just see Colorado winning the series, the most important position to have depth, not the most important position, but the most important position to have depth is the center position. And there is no one that has – Vegas is close. And they'll be in a better position if Mark Stone, who's missed –
ugliest man in hockey.
He's missed – do you know that Mark Stone – again, I talk about the best abilities, availability. Since he came over to the Knights from Ottawa, and he's their captain, he's missed 150 games.
Yeah, I mean –
almost 2 full seasons. And I think it's been –
Well, that's what they do in Vegas. You get on LTIR, so you can go sign Mitch Marner and bring in the next free agent.
Mitch Marner, I mean, call it whatever you want. Nothing warms my heart more than to listen to Toronto Maple Leaf fans cry and moan about Mitch Marner. It's the best.
It is.
It is the best.
I will say that I did hear towards he calls him Mitchie.
They call him Mitch. They called him Mitchie.
Did they?
Well, I think the Toronto media called him Mitchie when he wasn't playing.
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Hey, Mitchie.
The media, yeah.
I think they called him some other things too. But the kid's playing.
What do you think of Mitchie, Grant? You hang out with a guy named Mitchie?
I could hang out with a guy named Mitchie if it was his nickname. But I had a question. So why do you think, like, if you look at all the American sports, the 4 major American sports, normally when you have like a coaching change midseason, it's not to really salvage the season. It's, think of the Lions when they were awful. Like, you fire the coach.
I prefer not to.
Well, I'm just saying, like, normally it's because the team's so far gone. Yeah. There's no point of letting this guy finish.
Can't fire the team. You got to fire the coach.
Yes, exactly. Why in the NHL does it seem like you can salvage things quickly, or the firing the coach does change things? Like, because like you look at like the Blues right here, Berube comes in, they win the Stanley Cup, worst team. Is it just that hockey, especially in the NHL, 1 through the best team and the worst team aren't really that far apart, so that the coach can make that much of a difference? Because that's where I kind of see it. Like, if I'm looking at NBA and NFL, the worst team and the best team are miles apart. Where I kind of look at MLB and NHL, the margins, I think, are tinier. So do you think the coaching, especially in the NHL, makes an even bigger impact than other sports?
I think that is that's wisdom right there. That's insightful. I would lean into that and agree with you and say, I don't think there's a bottom NHL team. So I do agree with you. And we all know, if we're talking about NFL football, if you're playing the Jets this weekend, boy, you're loading up because when's the last time the Jets were something?
Well, if you could have the best coaching staff in the world for the Jets, and if they're playing the Chiefs and Mahomes is on, they can't do anything. Where in the NHL, I think that their coaches can be difference makers a little more.
Well, I personally think Monday to Saturday coaching in the NFL is the most impactful of all the major sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different. It's in every other sport, even baseball, with the exception of the pitcher and the catcher. Yeah, you're a first baseman or a shortstop or a second baseman, but you're still you can play. You can't be a quarterback and be a center. You can't be a wide receiver and a defensive tackle. I mean, there's such a difference in the way the teams are made up, and it's a much shorter season. It's just a totally different animal. I don't really think that – I think coaches or managers in baseball – I can't really speak too much about pro basketball, but I think college basketball, I think they're good. Good coaches are good for 3 wins a year. Decisions they make are, during the game. in between games, totally different. But I do agree with what you said, that the talent is. I mean, every team has guys that can play.
Yeah.
And it's a global league, similar to what basketball's become a global league too. And the amount of talent that you can go out and get right now. I mean, there are guys that are not playing in the NHL right now who 15 years ago would be in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always talk about expansion, and I think we're going to probably see another 2 teams in the NHL before the decade's out. The Tortorella thing and the Berube thing, though, those are still anomalies. That doesn't happen very often. Very similar to every other time you see a coaching change mid-season, it's usually not a good thing. And it's usually an interim tag being put on an assistant coach. Vegas is just, they have a different mindset. Vegas was going to make the playoffs with Cassidy. They were in the playoffs with Cassidy. They just like, we aren't going to win the Stanley Cup with him. They bought into it that Cassidy didn't give us the 3 games that we needed from him. And Torts, for whatever reason, they believe he's going to. And so far, it's paid off. It's paid off.
Well, and you got a coach who's publicly come out and been very supportive of Marner.
Yeah.
And saying he's a great player. I don't know why he gets so much flack. And then you got Marner out of the Toronto market where he isn't getting picked apart in the paper every single day. And so maybe the combination of the coach's support and a friendlier media market are just allowing him to, kind of blossom and take off. But I think it's impressive. I didn't have Marner as the leader in stats through NHL playoffs to this point, but he's getting it done.
And he's a two-way player. He plays both ends of the ice. But and going back to the Berube thing, I'll just say this: that was a different situation than Vegas. That was a situation where we're firing the coach because we can't fire the team. And if you remember, that team actually was picked to finish near first place in their division at the beginning of the year. So they were playing well below what their and the Berube change wasn't this magic wand. They were, I think they lost 3 or 4 games right out of the gate with Berube. So I do agree with Grant that NHL, there is a better or what I would call a more there's an opportunity with the NHL to win because I do think the talent is more dispersed. I just think, going back to this series, I think Colorado is just a little bit better down the middle. I think Nazem Kadri, but Colorado, we don't know how healthy Makar is.
Right.
The Chuskin's hurt. They've got 2 other guys that are nicked up. Obviously, so does Vegas. So they kind of cancel each other out. But I'll take Kadri and MacKinnon, Brock Nelson, and I'm trying to think of their other center. He's their 4th line guy over Eichel, Stone, and Nico Hischier. Not Nico Hischier. Hurdle, because they're just better. But it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a much better series than we anticipate.
Well, what we are going to have to do is we're going to have to wait because we've been spoiled these last 2 rounds of having multiple games on any given night to watch. Although we had one night a couple days ago where I was like, really? There's not a hockey game on?
Yeah, that was weird. It
was strange.
Yeah.
But
that's because Vegas ended it in 6 instead of 7.
Yes.
That's why you don't like them.
So we're headed into the stretch, Final Four. We'll see if Grant's predictions come true and if he's going to be gloating because Montreal won it all. We'll see.
Let's hit some let's do some quick hitters here with some top 10 storylines, and let's go right to your favorite series. And you've got the Golden Knights versus Colorado. I mean, this is a Jack Eichel versus Nathan MacKinnon series. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know Marner mostly plays the wing on that line 1A. I don't think they have a second line. I think it's 1 and 1A. Eichel has, I think he's got 1 goal and 1,000 assists. He's just been a playmaker.
He does. And for me, with Eichel, it's you've got to shut that guy down. MacKinnon just has speed. He's difficult to shut down because he's so fast on his feet. With Eichel, where I see Eichel beating teams time and time again, is they give him ice. He'll be on the boards. He's so good on the boards, and he'll make room, and he'll hold on to the puck. And then the next thing you know, the puck's in the net because the other team gave him time. So to me, it's 2 different ways to play 2 different players, right? You got to be on top of Eichel. Got to get a body on him, tie him up. On MacKinnon, you're just hoping that you can keep pace with him.
Well, Eichel has been here before. He has played and beaten Connor McDavid, who is, in my mind, the comparable to Nathan MacKinnon. Even though if you watch their games, they're slightly different. Their level of play and their ability to just dominate a game in a 20-second window. Like they can change a game in a 20-second window. Eichel has gone head-to-head with McDavid and shut him down. I think he's going to be tasked with that because he plays a 200-foot game. I'm always amazed, you look at Eichel and you never realize the dude's 6'2", 215.
Yeah,
he's just a big, and obviously MacKinnon is too. Yeah. So we're going to have these 2 like large body, old school, style centers going head to head who play slightly different games. I think that they cancel each other out. I'm going to give the nod a little bit to MacKinnon to probably come out ahead on the stat sheet, but it wouldn't surprise me if both were frustrating each other. And when MacKinnon gets frustrated, that's a dangerous thing for teams. So, yeah. Then we've got if we look at this next question, shout out to NHL.com for putting these great 10 storylines.
Yeah,
this is the rust versus we kind of hit this.
We kind of hit this. I mean, we talked about shedding the rust, and we talked about Mitch Marner. We haven't talked about Colorado's depth scoring, which I think is interesting. They had 10 different players that scored goals in the last round. Talk about distributing the puck and a balanced team. When you have 10 guys that can score, that's pretty dangerous.
I always forget they have Brent Burns.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Iron Man. He's the current Iron Man.
I mean, he was just a staple in San Jose forever, and then goes to Carolina, successful there. But him and Manson, and then you've got Taze and Makar. I don't know. You might be changing my. I mean, when you just read the rosters out loud, you're like, on paper, which is not where the game's played, it's going to be tough to beat Colorado.
And people are going to overlook Manson, but I tell you what, you don't want to come through the neutral zone with your head down.
No,
because he's going to beat you, and it's going to be body on body.
Plays like his old man.
He does play like his old man, and so he brings that whole physicality element to complement all those skilled defensemen that you just talked about.
Yeah, and they've got guys. I mean, obviously Nichushkin. We haven't even talked about, again, another Carolina connection. Marty Necas. I mean, this is another guy that, again, if you shine this spotlight on Kadri and MacKinnon and Makar, and then if Nichushkin's not firing all cylinders. Oh yeah, by the way, we've got Marty Necas who can just. That guy's a snipe.
Yeah, and if Landeskog's not going, then you've got things up. I mean,
that was the other center I was trying to remember. Yeah, the captain of the team, Gabriel Landeskog. I got my own hockey podcast, folks.
It's tough down the middle, and we touched on Doves a little bit, but
Well, we didn't mention the Ken Dryden or Patrick Waugh comparables.
No, and just the fact that we're talking rookies, which is unusual, to see a rookie playing, especially in a very important position like that, one of the probably the loneliest position in hockey, and
for sure.
And you got a rook back there who's who's holding down court. So pretty impressive. So Ken Dryden and Patrick Waugh, two Hall of Famers, comparables to Jacob Dobbs.
Yeah. And I think we talked about Stone's availability. Makar, I think he's dealing with a hip and a shoulder. Having been around players who've had hip injuries and having a shoulder injury myself and both my boys, those are you can't hide them. I mean, you got to play through them, and everybody can tell right away that guy's shoulder's hurting, that guy's hips hurting.
Well, I know we're going to do drill draw here in a minute, but just one last stat that I'll leave you with. Carolina is 95% on the penalty kill. They've allowed 2 goals on 40 shorthanded situations. That is lockdown right there.
Now, to be fair, they've had the least amount of opportunities for penalties as well. We're playing only 8 games. But again, I think you're onto something there, because, and this is why Montreal is going to struggle to win against this team. Another great reason. Grant, you might want to come back on here and get some knowledge, some coaching knowledge. The top line for Montreal, how many 5-on-5 goals do they have? Slafkovsky, Suzuki. Look at this. He did his.
One.
Yeah. And this is Cole Caulfield, 51 goals scored during the regular season, actually had more 5-on-5 goals last year in the first round of the playoffs than he's had this year, because you can't have less than 0.
I love that you know your stat about your team that you're all in on.
I'm all in.
You got to get a Habs hat, man.
Yeah.
If they win, I will.
Ooh, Bandy. That's a bandwagon.
That is a
dude.
yeah.
Like, come on.
I can't wear a Habs hat.
All in on them.
All right, we're not dealing with this anymore. I will say this though, I think he should figure out how to sing the Canadian national anthem in French.
No, I can't do that.
Yes, you can.
We got faith in you, Grant. You can.
I'm
do it.
Like Bobby Boucher said, you can do it.
I'm talented, but not that talented.
Well, I think we're going to jump into a drill draw here. I think Coach has got a great drill or game for us to share with our listeners at home and be able to download on the website. So we'll pause for a second here. We'll be right back with Too Many Men on the Mic drill draw. We've got too many men on the mic's drill draw, powered by Drift Hockey. Drift Hockey, built from the bench, the all-in-one hockey tool. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and scan that QR code in the top right-hand corner to get a free 30-day trial of Drift Hockey. And let's jump right in here as we do a drill draw. Coach, you got something for us here this week?
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout-out to the 94 NHL Oregon sound there. That was the lead into our drill draw today. That's fantastic. I'm thinking about Jeremy Roenick and my line on the Chicago Blackhawks for NHL 94 as we're getting this drill draw already.
Roenick, Larmer.
Oh, Larmer.
Dirk Graham.
Absolutely. Dirty Dirk Graham. Yes.
This is a St. Louis guy. I don't know if are we allowed to do this?
I can do it because it's Sega.
All right.
All right, so we're going to create a drill, and this one's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be a compete drill. So this is something that you as coaches can work on with your team. You can run it out of both ends. We're going to draw it on one end, but keep in mind that you could separate your team, separate your players if you want to, especially if you have kids maybe that are playing across birth years, maybe high school, and some different skill levels if you wanted to break them up. But let's go ahead and start with the pucks. Start with the pucks first. Let's put the pucks right in between the blue line and the center line on either side. It really doesn't matter. There you go. That's perfect. A nice smattering of pucks out there. And let's put a coach right behind those pucks or next to those pucks, because the coach is going to be the one actually distributing the puck in this drill. And then let's get a smattering of players for each team down in the corners. So this drill is a competition drill, and so we're going to have one player in one corner going against another player in the other corner. But one very key specific item has to happen before we actually can pull this drill off. And that is both players. And I don't know if Drift has this feature. Maybe we'll have to add it. Can we make the first player in each line be lying on their belly?
Well, let's
see. Let's see if Drift has the capability to do it. If not, then
we'll have to reach out to Brian.
We'll have to reach out to Brian and have him incorporate it.
I like that, but we can actually put it in the description.
So the idea is you're on your belly. You have no advantage because everybody has to get everybody who participates in this drill is starting from the same place, flat on the ice on your stomach. And what's the first move you have to do? I've heard you say this in practice before. You got to get up quick, and you got to compete. You got to move. Let's go ahead and add one last element to this drill. Let's put a tire out at the two circles. Yep, one there and one on the other side. And so the idea here is the coach is going to blow the whistle. Each player is going to move from being flat on their stomach to spring up on their feet, and they're going to take off as fast as they possibly can towards that tire. And they're going to go around that tire. Both players are trying to get around the tire first because the coach is, as they're coming around the tire, going to throw one of these pucks right down the middle. And so it's a race to the puck. It is a race for body position, and then ultimately who has possession of the puck. And then it's a one-on-one all the way in. Coaches, one of the things I really recommend is you talk to your players and you say,
"You put a net in here, right?"
Yes, we need a net and a goalie. That would be helpful too. Always helps to have those two things. But remind your players that it's not just about getting there quick, competing. It's also, if you don't get to the puck first, that you're competing the rest of the way in. And what I mean is, think of yourself as a back checker. If you aren't first on puck there, then you are skating. You're continuing to move your feet. You're popping sticks. You're lifting them. You're doing everything you can to play the puck all the way until it gets to the goalie. And what I have found in this drill is that the kids love it. It's one of those drills where at the end they get up and they go, "Coach, can we do just one more? One more? Can we do just one more?" So that they can go again. And anytime you can make something about competition and add a relay and add some back checking, there's so many good things that are in this. But coaches, you can run this on both sides. It's a fun drill, great compete drill, and boy, I just found the kids really like it. So. Coach, any thoughts from you? You've seen this drill in action.
Love this drill. Ran a similar, starting the kids off in a position that they're just not used to. It gets not just their body going and their body warmed up and getting their different muscles moving, but it gets their mind. They have to now think, okay, I get up. Now what's my first step going to be like? You could also, and I think we may have done this, is you could place a player at the opposite dots here to be back checkers to come in and create a 2-on-2. But what I love about this is it's just pure compete, 1v1 to start off, and who's going to be first on puck. Oftentimes the first person on puck, though, is not the person who ends up scoring, because that person who now has to come and create a battle and try to gain possession. You have that battle in between the dots. It's taking you right into the house. If we look at this from, it's taking you right into the house here between these dots. And that's where, if you want to go score goals, whether you're going to the net or whether you're driving to the net, this is the area. And so you're starting this game in a position that is different from what the kids are used to, but you're driving them to an area of the ice that's where we want, that's where we want you to go. We want you to get to that part of the ice and battle, not coast, And if you aren't first on puck, you better do everything you can to win that puck back.
And I'm sure you've seen this in action, is you'll get kids going against kids, and maybe one kid beat the other kid last time around. When you get a kid that's up there and it's like, he's not.
No, absolutely.
This time I'm going to get him. I'm going to get around that cone first, and I'm going to get to the puck first. So lots of battles within the battles, and just a lot of fun for, I think, the players.
Well, I'm calling it Acres Assault. I think it's a cool name, and
Double A.
Double A, Acres Assault. This drill and game will be up on our website after the show today. Head over to 2 Many Men on the Mic. That's 2, the number 2, 2manymenonthemic.com. Scroll on down to the Coach's Corner. You'll find this drill and game, small area game, along with many others brought to you by great coaches around this country and the world, actually. But make sure, you're going to hear this on Thursday night. There's some great games tonight. Game 1 of Carolina and Montreal. By the time you listen to this, we'll already have had game 1 in the books between Colorado and Vegas. And fun talking hockey with you tonight. Even you, Grant. Love talking hockey with you.
Grant, how many strokes are you going to give Coach Jared if you guys go play golf?
I think he's going to have to give me some.
I don't know. We'll see. It's I was on a tear, golfing in February and March, and then this work and this podcast and coaching and my kid graduating and my kid getting surgery and my other kid getting surgery. I kind of haven't had a chance to get out, and I haven't golfed in 6 weeks, so that's a. I
want to play right now then.
I was going to say, that sounds like sandbagging.
Yeah. Although the last time I was out, I broke 85.
Okay, I'd need some strokes if you play that well.
Well, that's not normal. You're supposed to say, well, what'd you do on the back nine?
That's
Well, Grant, I'm just going to put a prediction out there. I can't wait to see you at the front row of our show on the 18th. And you'll be singing along and maybe learn a couple of new tunes at one of our shows while you're at it.
I like it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, let's tie a bow on this baby. And thanks for listening. If you've been listening to the podcast and the show, continue listening to Too Many Men on the Mic. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks. And we'll see you next week.
Shootsy scores. Links are all in the bio. Thanks, everybody.
All right, I want to see this Montreal action go down, Grant.